Welcome back, my lovely beans, and today's video is about Netracells. It is a guide for Netracells and how to run Netracells. I am aware most of you probably do know how to do Netracells, and especially with EDA and ETA, not a lot of searches are left for Netracells, but I do want to explain for the newer people how to do Netracells, how to make it a little bit more comfortable to run, and what to pay attention to. For Netracells, you need to have done the quest Whispers in the Wall, with that you will unlock your Netracell searches. You usually have 5 searches. These 5 searches will be split between EDA, ETA, which is now the new form of EDA for 1999, and Netracells. One run of Netracells will use 1 search, an EDA run will take 2, and ETA will also take 2. So if you would do an ETA and EDA, you will have like 1 search left for Netracells, or if you decide to only do Netracells, you can do 5 searches in total. If you already have finished all of your searches, you can still run it if any of your friends don't need help. To be able to open the Netracells at the end of your run, you and your team need to carry like 4 key glyphs. Either every one of you is taking like 1 key glyph, or one person is taking all 4 key glyphs. It doesn't matter who's carrying one. You will spawn in the anchor hold where you will pick up the key glyphs. Here you are safe, so take your time, deploy your specters if you want, use energy pads, and wait till everyone is ready before you hack the PC. You can use ciphers to auto hack them. They are different key glyphs. They are sanguine. Every time you take damage, you also suffer bleed status. Frame Curse, activating an ability, inflicts 50 damage upon you. Knife Staff, lose 2 health when moving, jumping, pauses the effect. Exhaustion, lose 2 energy per second for each enemy within 10 meters of you. Vanquisher, extra Eximus units have been summoned to the battle. Vampire, lose health every second. Killing enemies restores health. Conductive, high current electricity targets the barrier every few seconds, and Void Burst line enemies explode with void energy. Most of these are absolutely fine with health tank builds that I will show you. When you enter it, you want to like hack 3 of these white spots. These are PCs. These will narrow down the radius, as you can see right here. You don't have to. If you're really good, you can just run through and find the like vault directly. It's up to you if you want to hack it or not. We usually go for the PCs, but that's up to you. You can also use ciphers here. If not, just take it regularly, but it's faster to use ciphers. For the ciphers, I would suggest to you have to equip it to your gear wheel, and I'm jumping off the map. Oh, lovely, right? We're not talking about it. It happens to the best of us. Once a vault is located, you have to use the right key. If each of you is carrying 1 key, you have to test who of you has the right key, right? I'm so slow sometimes. I already have, Parker velocity on. My girl. Oh, wait. Nope. The loot goblin. If you're wondering, that is actually like a recording that I used now. And I just realized how much of a loot goblin I am sometimes. Oh my god. There you go. That is the point where you actually put in the keys. I do carry all 4 keys, so I can simply put it in. So now on the top left, you see the little map. That is the radius. You want to kill enemies while you are in the radius. The enemies don't have to be in the radius. So you only have to be in it, the enemies doesn't. So you can literally stay on the edge and just kill or throw your Falcor outside. That's usually what I'm doing the whole time. That's find and destroy the drone. That happens at 67% and 33%, where you literally want to find it and destroy it. They will spawn roughly around the whole map. You will take a while to know all of the spots. Some of them are actually a little bit hidden and annoying to find. You will get used to them. When the security level completely drops, we will see that in a bit. It will take a bit. So, most important here, right? 2 tips. I would highly suggest to run Vazarin as your school if you have it unlocked, because what you want to like do is actually have the option to quick pick up one of your teammates if they go down, because if they fully die, you don't have any revives down here, right? So be a bit careful with that. And the other thing is sentinels, or your companion in general. I usually use Death Cube for the extra energy, but I don't really need it anymore. Another good idea would be Worm for shield gating or Taxon for shield gating. I do like Worm a lot because of the status immunity with negate you're getting. Taxon is a tiny bit cheaper, I would say, so Taxon could be a good idea. Diriga, if you need priming, just be a bit careful with what you want to like have for a setup, so you don't slow them down outside or like too close to the rim. By the way, we're not talking about what happened here. I'm just giving you the hint that the other person were playing side. And you can shoot through walls as side. That's the only tip that I'm giving you here. You want to make sure that the security level is completely deployed. I personally do like to run Nova because I can speed up the enemies a tiny bit to make sure that they are walking faster towards the area or towards me, so I can actually throw my Falcor. On that part, I'm running the pad assist at them. At roughly 25%, the enemies intensifying, you know, they will spawn more, but that's, you know, absolutely fine. A Panzer is also great here if you need a bit more protection. You can also run a Sly if you want to, so you do have, you know, the jumping, the passive, the mod, like technically the wisp passive, but that is up to you, whatever you prefer to run. I will show you a bunch of builds for like frames and give you a rough suggestion for weapons. I will not directly tell you, I just will tell you what I like to run for weapons, because I find it hard to suggest, because it can vary so much what type of MR you are in to actually show direct weapon builds for all of these ones. But yeah, that is definitely it. Usually if you run in public, I have to say Netracells will be not that quick to run. Our runs are really quick because of side Nova setup. I have to say that. We do run them really, really quick. And here's the most important thing. When you're done, you have to go back, open the vault, and destroy this item here, right? And you need to make sure that you do have an unidentified item in your pocket before you go to extraction, okay? Because that is your loot. If you don't have it, you have not finished the mission. The sad thing is you can leave the mission without having that in your pocket, and then you run this Netracell run without a reason. It was literally a waste of time if you did not do that. So make sure you actually do have it before you leave, because that is literally what is the reason you're doing it, and then you run to extraction. There you go. And we saw legal Amelia Kane adapter. It could have been worse, but yes. But that's really what you want to do. And for that, I want to explain to you what I personally like to run for Netracells, and want to give you some tips, what you might want to like pay attention to, and what builds or frames you would like to run. My comfort frame to run is personally Nova. Why Nova? Simply because you do have a really good setup. You do have your one, which is technically when you have enough nullsters, you do get up to 90% damage reduction, which is great. In addition to that, you do have your 4, which is Multicolor Prime, where you will speed up enemies. Why does it matter? Because what I already explained, you do have the circle where you want to stand in and you can kill the enemies. You don't have to like kill the enemies inside the circle. It's just you have your beast yourself have to be in the circle, right? So keep that in mind, but you can speed them up so you can actually reach them while you're standing in them. But since Nova, even so I do run Brief Respite, does technically rely on classic shield gating. Thanks to nullsters and the damage reduction, it's like a double, right? You do have the classic Brief Respite, but you also have the damage reduction from the nullster. So you're double protected. And I really do like to play it that way. I find it really comfortable, especially with Aegis. I don't think you need Aegis, so if you look at this build, you don't need Aegis. You can run here something else if you want to. that is really important. When you want to play Nova, the most important thing is you do want to make sure that you will have enough damage reduction to have, or enough strength to have the damage reduction up. So what you want to like check is that you get enough antimatter particles with enough damage reduction. It literally will tell you how much particles you will get and how much damage reduction you get per particle. 90% damage reduction is the max you can get. And another important thing when you play around her 4 is that you actually need duration. Yes, it sounds like you would need range, but actually the radius with how much you speed up the enemies is based off duration. So the minimum you want is for your 4 is 150% strength, because that is like the maximum strength you need to actually get the full speed up or slowdown. And then you want to get a lot of duration, because that is the radius you're actually affecting the enemies. And since Nova does not really actually need to spam her abilities, you're actually safe from most of the effects of the key glyphs that I already told you about, all of the effects, right? And if anything ever happens, you do have your rolling guard as always. I do call it for the oopsies, you know that. I do appreciate rolling guard. I personally do like rolling guard over the adaptation because of the remove all status effects. So whenever any status effects being applied to you, you know, you just roll. You know, it does have a 7-second cooldown. We are aware of that, but it's still great. You know, if you want to go even tankier, you could run even instead of Nourish, Eclipse. If you want to go for the safe side, I do run Nourish over her 3. Go Eclipse. Then you're good to go. So, as a disclaimer right here, all of my builds are high investment builds. What are we doing if you look at this build, or any of my builds, and you say, I don't have that much capacity, or I don't have certain mods, which is fair because you're starting out, you have not leveled that much, you have not farmed that much. What you will generally do is, you know, I will tell you what each mod is doing, and you will check what similar mod do you have that is doing something the same, and you will adjust your build. Right? You don't have the prime version, you use the normal one. You don't have blind rage, you will use, if it fits, umbral intensify, right? You just want to make sure that you have, like I said, 150% strength. Even with that, you should get enough nosters. You know, you don't have a max equilibrium, go for a rank 6 one. Vigilant Vigor and Fast Deflection are easy to get. Molecular Fission you will get from one of your syndicates. Narrow-minded, you know, go for prime continuity. You're doing fine. Rolling guard is the only thing why there's not really an equivalent to that. If you do run a slam build or a Falcor, you can run Carnus. Carnus mods either on your that would be an option because whoopsie, I misclicked. Give me a second. I'm sorry. Carnus mods. What are Carnus mods doing? Killing an enemy with a heavy attack reduces enemy accuracy against warframes by 10% and grants immunities to the status effect for 2 seconds. If you put that also on your secondary, it will be 4 seconds, right? And it will also, instead of putting it on a secondary, you can also put it on your sentinel. So instead of rolling guard, you could put on that to get that. And if you detonate your Falcor or like your glaive, it will count for that. So either slamming or that would be an option. You don't have Aegis, go for Guardian, for example, or Mold Efficiency. There are always options. We will learn slowly, how to adjust, right? Because that is what we're doing. You can, like, if you have all mods, go for it. You don't like Brief Respite, you don't have to do that, right? But Nova, my comfort frame. Because it doesn't actually matter what type of glyph you're getting. Besides that, obviously, great choice in my opinion, I know a lot of people find boring to run, is Wisp. Wisp, obviously, simply run a lot of strength. A little bit of range. I would not go for negative range. What does range actually does is how close you need to go to the mode, right? And you do want to have duration, so when you leave the mode, how long actually the buff lasts, right? Fused Reservoir is comfort. I do know that not everybody does like to run Fused Reservoir for Netracells, because what it also does is the shock modes. Shock modes are technically like the little zip 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 that will make enemies go like brrr, and they will stop walking for a bit, right? So that's why I would say like maybe don't run Fused Reservoir. I do them and I simply don't place them directly at the like rim of the field, right? But that's up to you. On Wisp, I actually do run adaptation since I do have my 2 to get invulnerable. Remember that if you double tap your Will-O-Wisp, you are invulnerable. So I do run adaptation. So I'm simply a little bit more like, tanky in general. And Arcane Blessing. That is up to me, like my preference playstyle for Power Wisp. And I don't have red shards on because I do have my Wisp set up for Word Cascade. I will maybe get like a second Wisp in the future for that, but that's besides the point. That is one way. What are we running in total? We're running strength, more strength, more strength, adaptation, running energy because I do like to run energy, so I can like simply put all modes done and like use raw, especially with negative efficiency, right? Argo secrets, more strength, energy conversion. Make sure when you're like actually put down your mode, the energy conversion is up, and a little bit of duration. And I think I do have a purple shard on her. Oh, I actually don't. I don't have an efficiency shard on her. I don't have, apparently. Maybe if you then want to like swap actually Prime Flow out for like Equilibrium shard, Equilibrium out, or run an Equilibrium shard on her. I think I was running last this build. Oh, there it is. Equilibrium on. Okay. Yeah. So you kind of get it. Then another great frame for Netracells is a health tanking gauze, in my opinion. Health tanking gauze. What is a health tanking gauze doing? You're simply invulnerable. Why are you invulnerable? Because of your 2 and your Eclipse, right? Really nice. Together that was adaptation and quick thinking. It literally drains your energy to stop lethal damage. That's what you're doing. That together with Arcane Guardian and Arcane Blessing will make you more or less completely invulnerable. It's actually insane. It's really comfortable. You don't have to think about it. Just make sure these 2 abilities are up. That's all you literally need, right? And, you have nothing to worry about. We do have, once again, duration, strength, flow, strength, adaptation. Adaptation is the same as Rolling Guard, one of these few mods where it's actually really hard to find something. You do get them from arbitration. It's the few things where I do have to say I'm really sorry there's no real like way to mod around that. And Gladiator Finesse. So yeah. Then another option is, in my opinion, Lavos. Lavos is a great weapon platform. Once again, we do use Eclipse if you want in total, together with that with not a Sentinel. I said that wrong. If you want to use that together with your Panzer Wolf Profiler, I will show you that in a second. It's a great way. You do absolutely health tank. Once again, it's a combination of Arcane Blessing, Guardian, and Eclipse over your 4. In that case, it's a preference that I put it over the 4 if you want to like swap that around because you want to have another elemental combo for your weapons. That's absolutely up to you. But once again, health conversion and adaptation. Balance formation is the argument. I do run it on low, so I have like a difference of elemental bonus for the weighting on my weapons. If you don't know, weighting means literally how much elemental bonus you get for your weapons. So I want to keep that low. Fortitude, simply, it's not max because I don't have enough capacity because I didn't want to form like another time on my Lavos because I do run double Umbral. That is one of the few times you will actually see me running double Umbral. I'm not the biggest fan of like, just put triple Umbral on a build. I will tell you that, but Lavos is actually one of the few frames where double Umbral is useful, Vitality and Intensify. We do run moderation and moderation. But that is comfort. So if you don't want to run that much duration, that's absolutely fine. But yeah. Then another frame you can run if you want to is Yareli. I know that most people will make a little bit of fun of Yareli, but why Yareli? Because of damage continuation. I know that a lot of people will make a little bit of fun, but why Yareli? Because of damage redirection to Miralina. Instead of you taking damage, Miralina will take damage and makes you actually like kind of staying alive. So you actually do only have to be careful with that. In addition to that, you can also like shield gate and get invulnerable for 4 seconds with your really whenever you recast your 2. So that is a great way. And she gives you extra, crit rate for your secondary weapon. So it is a great way if you want to. I'm not too sure if it's a great way, but she definitely can carry most of the keys, or like she actually can carry all of the keys, right, without any issues. She doesn't need to spam her abilities, but she still has like CC. Keep in mind, you can't CC enemies with Overguard, but like still, you still get the vulnerability of that one, so I would not like, worry too much about that. That is, by the way, my typical Void Gate build. You can also use Omamoro to get even tanky instead of like Silence, so you would be even a little bit more tanky. It's a great way, in my opinion. Test that out, Once again, you don't have to run Aegis. You could run Efficiency here. You can run not Aegis. We have Aegis. You could run Guardian here. Augmented if you want to get more strength on it. Precision I definitely would leave on because of like the way her passive works together with that. Other than that, obviously, we do have our Revenant, if I have not mentioned him. Mesmer Skin, do we have to talk about it? One of the safest ways, right? You gain your stacks, you will be comfortable. You have with Raw over his 4, one of the best damage multiplication, right? It's great, it's comfortable, it is safe, it's a great weapon platform. It's a great way. I like it. It's comfortable. You don't have to worry about like literally anything. What are we actually doing? Duration, precision intensify for raw, flow. That's like a thing. You can drop that actually if you wanted to. Equilibrium, Narrow-minded, Blind Rage, Rolling Guard, and Mesmer Shield. I would suggest run actually Mesmer Shield. Don't be Revenant that is not running Mesmer Shield. Don't be like, not a teammate. Please be a nice teammate. If you're actually already running Revenant, please be a teammate for your whole team, right? Other than that, obviously, we do have our regular Dante. My Dante is not fully built. Don't judge my Dante build, okay? We have the typical book build. There would be actually mold augmented here. And we have our nuke build. There would be mold augmented here. Great way, You probably would actually energize. That's one of the few frames, like, energize is kind of like meh. But like on the other hand, like if you get lucky and to get the proc, it's kind of nice. So I'm still not a fan of Energize. I have to say that. I tested it once again on like another build and I was like still, oh my god, it's not proccing enough. Anyway, what are you actually wanting for Dante? You do want to have like enough strength. So you're actually nuking, especially nice. You still have like a little bit of the issue with the line of sight. That's why I'm like not the biggest fan of it. But besides that, Umbral Intensify, Stretch, Prime Flow, Duration, Strength, Range, and efficiency, so you don't run completely negative efficiency, because you do want to spam. Actually kind of nice. You don't really need sure-footed, because technically you constantly have Overguard. Overguard protects you from any type of knockdown. You have like knockdown immunity, you have status immunity in general. So it's actually kind of great. It's a 2-former build of my Dante, so don't judge it too much. I don't plan to invest more into my Dante at the moment. Maybe in the future. But besides that, by the way, if you want to like run any other frame because you're feeling comfortable on that frame, you're absolutely fine. I know that a lot of people do, for example, like to run Zareen because of the speed and the mode, because the mode is cleansing. Absolutely go for that, by the way. Don't get me wrong. You can run whatever you want. I'm just giving you generic like builds, setups that makes it like really comfortable for the beginning. Another great way is Citrine, because once again, damage reduction. There should be multi as well. Why am I mold away constantly? Because, like, I do sell my mold arguments from time to time. Once again, I do have a clip setup. So I do run a lot of tank setups. Once again, adaptation. So the idea always is health with adaptation and eclipse. That is what actually make your survivability. If you only have eclipse and you don't have adaptation, it's still, super fine. You will still, on Citrine, still be super, super safe, especially with her 2, right? She has damage reduction, built in. So her clips and her 2 will already make you really, really safe. So don't worry too much about that. But what you actually want to do, you want to have, a good amount of strength. Total Eclipse, because it will make you, a nice teammate. Total Eclipse together with Eclipse means that you do apply your Eclipse status effects actually to all of your teammates around you. It does apply for 50 meters around. You transit fortitude for more strength, arcane continuity and stretch, and then the argument for Citrine. Once again, arguments are coming from your syndicates. That is a setup that you can test. I don't even run any shards on my Citrine. But that is just generic frame setups. If you want to run something else, go for it. If you have any other suggestions, go for it. That is just a generic rundown of frames that I tested so far. If you feel comfortable with anything else, you can run it probably with so much more. Probably Rhino is great. Titania, you can simply fly if you wanted to. You are fine probably with so many more. It's just that's all really, really safe setups. Now for weapons. Generally for weapons, first 2 infos. Murmurs don't have, or most of the murmurs don't have their weak spots at their heads, right? Headshots are not weak spots, right? So you should not run Deadhead. You will have a hard time getting your stacks. And murmurs are weak to radiation. So if you want to mod for that, go for it. I personally do like to run anything that does do chaining. So Akicore, Turret, Galaxian, anything like that. I'm aware that Akicore is, hard to build because of Sentinel Search. That mod came back last Halloween, but I'm still aware that most of you will not have it, and the price is still kind of high. Turret isn't in canon. Totally aware of it. I'm also aware that most people say Turret is only playable with a Riven. It's annoying. So maybe go for Galaxian. Galaxian will also be nice for that. Why beam weapon? Simply because of the chaining effect. I do find that really comfortable. So you can run Galaxian with a Frostbite setup. You do want to have multi-shot. You want to have critical delay, vital sense, status chance. You want to have... That is an option if you have it. If don't, you're absolutely fine. I do run corrosive, but you can definitely run radiation here if you wanted to. If you run radiation as the 60/60, I would maybe also suggest to run magnetic as an extra. I do have now a magnetic Galaxian, so I would just add into it, but most of the magnetic mods do have a nice either magazine capacity, and for the secondaries, they do give extra crit damage, so that's why I would, at least for secondaries, suggest adding if you have magnetic on, because magnetic will help you to go through overguard, and on secondaries will add crit damage. And Cryoron simply because cold on Galaxian is kind of really good. You can either run a Frostbite setup for Galaxion or a Crux setup, or obviously a Merciless setup if you would like to do that. But besides that, in my opinion, a really good idea for generally Netracells are glaives. Glaives are high investment and also more towards late game. It really depends what MR you are when you are able to run your first Netracells. That's why I find it a bit harder to suggest actually weapons. But what is the advantage of glaive? The advantage of a glaive is that you can technically do a heavy attack or detonate the glaive when you throw it, right? And that make it that you can proc melee influence on it, and that will make a chain of damage. I know most of you will not want to hear anything more about melee influence because it is overused, but it is really really nice. If you look at that, so that is technically the build. You want to run melee influence and blast. And if you don't have a Riven, you will see that you don't have enough crit. So you want to run Sacrificial Steel. I don't have the capacity on this build, so instead of Galvanized Steel, you will run Sacrificial Steel to get higher crit chance, right? But the idea is you can simply throw it and detonate it. So most of the effects of the glyphs will actually not affect you, right? And that's what you want. And if you can, put a bane on your weapons. Other than that, like that would be like maybe like a nice setup for the Aki core if you have the Aki core. I do like to run Fortifier because, you know, extra damage to Overguard. And Magnetic Might here, you also see like crit damage. Yeah, Magnetic Might is from 1999. But that's like the weird thing. I'd suggest you something for Netracells. But Netracells is at this moment so in the middle because Netracells is after New War. You now can, with the change they did last week, finally get to the point that Steel Path and Arbitration will be unlocked after New War, right? But we are at 1999, so we are like actually story-wise way ahead after Whispers of the Wall. So finding a middle way to suggest something for Netracells is a bit hard, but I still want to explain to everyone how to do Netracells because I want to like give everyone that is at this point really an idea how to run it. So if you have any questions how to do something, feel absolutely free to put it down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that helped at least a tiny bit, and see you next time.